I say that I sleep 6, 7, and 8 hours, and that nobody should do anything that doesn't make them happy, and that making $47,000 a year and being happy is amazing, and yet people want to make me the poster child of overworking and burning yourself out. I get it. I understand what happens once you hit a certain tier.
Welcome to the Mindset by Design podcast with your host, the expert Andy Murphy, where you will learn the tips, tricks, and strategies he teaches his world-class clients to give you the skills to dominate any business.
What's going on, Mindset by Design crew, and welcome to episode 333. Hope you're amazing as always, and that's a pretty cool number, 333. I love it. And speaking of loving it, today's episode you're going to love too. We started off, obviously, with Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk, and that's who we're going to go on with. Do you know why? Years ago, it's very interesting watching Gary's, whether he's changed, whether he's got older and wiser, I don't know, but he's got a lot nicer. Do you know what I mean? Let's call it that. Years ago, I used to hate Gary. Hate's a strong word. Probably shouldn't use it. Let's not use it. Let's call it dislike. I did, but we're going back quite a few years now. When he first came out and he was very aggressive and all the rest of it, and it was coming so much from ego. And I don't know what changed over the years. I really don't. Hey, it could be he's been doing a lot of meditation, plant medicine, working on his brain. Just realized that you can really help more people by being a bit more gentle. Maybe I haven't got a clue, but he's cool. He's really, really cool. And the thing about Gary also, he's absolutely incredible at predicting the future trends in tech. And if you don't know this about him, it's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing. Everything that we're seeing right now, if you look back, he said it all. He said exactly what's going to happen. And you got to follow him, right? He said about even TikTok. He said about NFTs. He said about everything. And it's really starting to blow up. Everything that he's talking about. Now, that's just a clever guy, right? Who's got his pulse on the finger of what's really going to happen. And it's called behavioral psychology, right? So he's really understanding, it's like the stock market, right? Stock market is based off what? Psychology. Everything's based off psychology. It's where the people are focused on. It's what people's beliefs are that are going to work and go up or trend. Or it's the same with what's happening in the crypto world, right? It's the same what's happening in normal currency. Normal currency, the US dollar, for example, is only valuable because people perceive it as valuable. It's the same with a stock. It's the same with gold. It's the same with the cryptocurrencies. It's the same with the blockchain. It only works because people believe it's going to work and they put their energy in there, and that means it's held as a valuable asset. And that means you can do stuff with it. So this is what he's brilliant at seeing. But what I want to look at today's episode, yes, I've jumped in, by the way, crew. I've jumped in we're getting on with it today. So what I'm looking at today, of course, what's the name of the podcast? Mindset by Design, right? So we're going to look at his mindset and his belief systems, his values, his focus, his expectations, what drives him inside, all of these things, because then you can get a little glimpse through his eyes and you can adopt some of those own beliefs yourself. That's what everything I do is about. It's about building patterns in the brain so you can start to see the world a different way. Whether that's you're a trader and the trader is you want to be able to sit down at your desk or your laptop or your phone, right? And be able to really look at the algorithms and really make high-level decisions. And that means non-emotional or non-reactive, right? And all of these things that go into being a trader. Or you could be growing your business right now and really scaling it from 6 and you want to hit that 7 figures plus, and you just need to be thinking at a much higher level without these dips and highs and lows that you go through each day, right? Makes sense? Well, that's the point. It's all to do with how you have conditioned your brain. And what my concept is called neuroconditioning. It's about being able to condition your brain and nervous system to step into the unknown and instead of reacting, be able to take action at your highest level. And when you start to understand that concept, it goes through everything. It goes through life. It goes through health. It goes through your finances. How are you thinking about money? How are you thinking about having millions of dollars in the bank? Are you reacting with absolute confidence, or is it coming from ego, or is it coming from what's the driver behind it, right? And when we can look at everything that's going on inside someone's brain, and we can start to build new ways of thinking, feeling, and acting towards whatever it is, well, that's how we create success. Do you know what I mean? 19 years of doing this, thousands and thousands of clients, some of the best in the world. I've been able to look in their brains, and really, this is what I do. It could be world champions, moving them from, this is what I worked with a lot years ago, but world champions, moving them from training to the day of the event, right? That day of the event is new. So your brain and nervous system react a very different way as if they were in training camp where you were performing like a badass. Does that make sense? So when you get that, then this is how we build life, right? So when we look at people like Gary's brain and his belief systems, then guess what? Well, we can start going, oh, what would happen if I did that? Well, what would happen if I could look at the world like that? Or if I got clear on where I want to take this in the future instead of just paying the bills or making money or trying to just live on the beach forever, right? What would happen if there was something more than that? There was a bigger driver, the bigger motivation inside that you were able to, well, what? Yeah, use as fuel. You know what I mean? So that's what we're going to go into today. So pretty cool, hey? Yeah, pretty cool. It's a cool clip. It's actually going back a few years ago, some of the clips in it. And that's why you're going to get Gary. Well, he swears a lot, man. He swears more than me. He really, and I swear a lot. I come from the UK originally, so that's just effing and blinding. It's just what we do. But Gary, coming from New York, I think he's got the same kind of genetics, the same kind of wiring in his brain. But guess what? He doesn't really swear as much anymore. And there is actual psychological studies showing that you get an amygdala response actually when you are swearing, which is very, very interesting. That is a topic for another time. So if you don't like swearing, this is probably the wrong podcast episode, because there's a lot of it, and I'm not going to swear, but hey, I might. But if you don't like it, you're not probably going to like the start of this clip, because Gary goes off. I think there's like 10 Fs, in a very short space of time. Just letting you know. But guess what? That's why I have my podcast set to explicit content. Always, right? Because who the hell knows what we're going to be talking about. So, speaking of talking about awesome stuff and getting your brain right, I gave you a little hint. You can actually do something pretty epic. You heard a few episodes ago with Ryan Alford. I was being interviewed on his podcast, The Rodcast. If you haven't gone to that episode, just go and check it out, right? Because Ryan is one of the top marketers in the world, worked with the NFL, Verizon, everyone you can imagine. And me and him have teamed up to give you a unique experience, a brand new experience. Nothing, well, we're just cutting through the BS of the industry. We're actually giving you the real world tactics and strategies of how to scale and grow your business at the highest level, like we've done for thousands of people. There's a combined 40 years of knowledge doing this, 20 between us both. Well, I'm coming up to 20, but 19 and a half. But this is it. So we've got a mastermind coming, and we've got loads of other cool stuff. And you can go right now to the show notes or type in the Radical Formula. The Radical Formula. And you can jump on the VIP list. We should be launched by the end of the month. And this means you're going to set 2022 up in a whole different way. We're going to make it as affordable as possible. Unless you're going to come into our VIP groups later. That's a different thing. They're more expensive, but it means you get more access to us. There's going to be weekly lives going on inside this first mastermind, the Radical Formula. You're going to get to hang out with me and Ryan every week. It's just badass. I am so pumped about this. I know I'm going to learn a massive amount from him, and we're going to be all over social media, all over everywhere, and you're going to want to be a part of this. This is going to be with one of the top masterminds out there for 2022, and yeah, you can be involved. So go to the Radical Formula and sign up right now to be one of the first to hear all about it and get all the exclusive deals and offers. Do that. And next time I'll tell you about the Genius Trader, because that's going to be launched. Everything's done. We're just finalizing things and then we launch. So that's going to be awesome too. So if you're a trader, it's coming. If you are building an online brand, the Radical Formula is here, and we're going to have the 8-figure thinker. That's all done. We're just finalizing that, and that's going to be launched too. That's the 8-figure thinker mental training academy. Is the premier training academy for your mindset and brain that exists for entrepreneurs. So you can have access to all of this, or you can just head over to andymurphy.online now and see what's going on. Sound good? Awesome. Go and sign up for the Radical Formula right now, and let's jump into this. We've got a cool clip. I'm going to do what I do with these clips. I'm going to break them down, give my 2 cents worth, or whatever you want to call it, $1 million, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to do my thing, and let's go and kick ass. And you know what? I'll see you at the end of the show.
Gary. I say that I sleep 6, 7, and 8 hours, and that nobody should do anything that doesn't make them happy, and that making $47,000 a year and being happy is amazing, and yet people want to make me the poster child of overworking and burning yourself out. I get it. I understand what happens once you hit a certain tier. I also understand that maybe I could have done a better job earlier in the process of my career in creating clarification. Thus, I'm okay with getting link baited into some of these conversations. But listen, I believe in work-life balance. I just think my work-life balance is different than yours. I also think that happiness needs to be thought about. And like, when you love what you do, like, this is my hobby.
You also have to know what you want, right?
Correct.
If you want to be a billionaire, you're not going to do it by just
and by the
sleeping
way,
all day.
let me say it one more time, because I've got to clarify it all the fucking time. I'll say it for the 9,000th fucking time. The pursuit of trying to buy the New York Jets is my passion, because it allows me to play the game that I love. I love being a businessman the way a lot of you love playing football, the way a lot of you love to ski, the way a lot of you love to read, the way a lot of you love to cook, watch Netflix, hang out with your friends. If given the option, besides garage sailing and watching the Jets professionally, forget about family, that's on a pedestal that nothing can touch. Outside of spending time with my inner family and closest friends, and outside of garage sailing and watching the Jets, there's nothing I'd rather do than work a 15-hour day.
So crew, let's jump in straight away. Gary loves it. Do you know what I mean? And I always relate this back to, with personal clients, I always like to work with ex-athletes or athletes. That's one of the things I love about my partnership with Ryan Alford. He's an ex-college high-level basketball player. He's like 6'5", big dude. And I've done martial arts all my life, so you know how to push through things. I don't need to ever motivate an entrepreneur who's been an athlete. I don't, because they know how to win. They know how to be self-disciplined. They know how to push past the failures, the ups and downs. They know how to keep driving towards what they want. They might need, obviously, tuning and everything. That's what we do. But the fundamental side of it, they know how to drive themselves. Do you know what I mean? They know how to get out in the rain if necessary and get bloody and dirty and beaten up and recover and love it. It's like every Olympic athlete there's ever been. Do you think everything went smooth? No, of course it didn't, right? There was days that they really, really just didn't want to go and train. There's days that they felt sick and tired and beaten up, or they'd lost an event that they'd been spending months to get towards, and then everything goes wrong. But do you think that stops them in their pursuit for the vision, the goal, the mission that they're on? No, right? It does not. It does not. In fact, it does the opposite sometimes. It inspires them to go back to basics, work on the details, understand their brain, understand what's playing inside that's giving them the results that they want or what they don't want. It's a constant growth exercise. So when Gary says that there's nothing more that he would love to do than play this game, the game of business, then you've got to ask that question for yourself. Are you really playing that game of business? And we're not talking about becoming a billionaire. Everyone's obsessed with that number or $100 million. Or it doesn't mean that. It means, what is it for you that's going to fulfill you? What is it for you that's going to make you happy? What is it for you that's going to light you up, that you're going to get to the end of your life and look back on now and know that you've made a decision to go in alignment the right way, right? What is that? And if you're doing something that makes you feel sick every day to go to it, stop. And you go, I can't stop, Andy. Yes, you can. But you've got to have something to transition into. You know, you've got to have something else to move into. And that's where people talk about side hustles and all of these things. And if you're way past that, which probably most people listening to this podcast are past that, or you're in the journey of that, then guess what? It's a case of, how do you want to experience the next 5 years, the next 2 years, the next 1 year, the next 12 months? Does that make sense? How do you want to experience it? Because that is the most important thing. It's not about money. It's about achieving what you want to achieve. And unfortunately, or fortunately, you don't get nothing for nothing. If you don't put energy out, the energy does not get exchanged. It's a fundamental law, right? If you do not put energy out, it does not come back. And even if you go, what about lottery winners? Well, yeah, they still put the energy out, right, to win the lottery. But hey, that's a whole different topic of conversation, because that's talking about, souls and consciousness and who knows, and collective consciousness and who knows, right? Whole different topic. But what we're talking about today is some straight brainwaves, some straight neuroscience, and some straight peak state design. So the truth is, are you playing full out? Are you playing like you would in a sport? If you were the captain or the leader of your sport, right? Are you playing like you're a leader? Only you know. But the question is, what would happen if you did?
You're self-aware. You know you.
And I always have. This is why I shoveled snow and did lemonade. And I washed fucking cars as a 7-year-old all day long on August 9th, because it's what I like. And I'm not gonna judge somebody who wants to work 9 to 5, be on 13 fucking softball teams and play fucking video games all day and make $42K a year. If she and he are pumped as fuck, they're equal to me, because I know a bunch of miserable fucking billionaires, and I know a lot of fucking happy 55K a years and everything in between. So fuck, here's my thing. If you listen carefully, I'm only spitting 2 core things. You be self-aware, and you make yourself happy, and don't let anything other variables, you adjust to macro variables. And 2, this is what makes me happy. A lot of people are spitting their ideology on other people, especially after they've already accomplished something.
At what point does patience just become delusion?
A lot of times.
Well,
if you've been doing the same thing for 7 years and nothing good has happened, you're delusional. Let's start there. That's a test. I believe in that. If there's been no progress in your rap career or in your art or your video blog, and you've been doing it every day for 7 years, as hard as you can, and nothing has happened, the market has spoken.
Okay, crew, let me jump in there. So Gary actually talks more about this, so it's not definitive. He talks about, well, you'll see in a minute, right? But does he have a point? Does he have a point? I met people years ago, people stand out. And there was a guy when I was doing real estate investing, and I was smashing it. And I remember speaking to this guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I spend like 15 hours a day or something crazy talking to his business partner about this idea and this idea and that and that." But he didn't have any money. And I was like, I was young as well, so I kind of upset him a little because I was 27 and I was giving him advice and he's like 50. But he was spending all his time talking about ideas. He wasn't doing it, right? He'd do a little bit, but it was just ideas. It was a fantasy. So you got to be careful you're not tricking yourself in delusion to be delusional over something. The other side of it is, like he spoke about a rapper. Well, if you've been doing something for 7 years and you haven't broke through, does it mean you should stop? Depends. Depends if it's affecting your life. If it's affecting your life in a bad way, then yeah, change it or limit the time. Do you know what I mean? But if it also could mean you're not the best rapper, But it also could be the same thing with business. But then we move back to Edison. And Edison, what was it, 10,000 attempts to get the filament to work inside of a light bulb. And that was relentlessness. So it's a fine line, right? He knew there was something there, but he kept going. And it created a result. So you've got to be self-aware. I mean, he knew the formula, and you might know the formula. Right? You might know that can happen. You might know it's possible. But that doesn't mean it's alchemy, right? You could be there in the desert with, and I actually know someone who did this. They were creating alchemy, and they were creating chemical compounds. They had furnaces, and they said they did actually change it into gold a few times. It was just not consistent about the amounts, and then that all went wrong. So who the heck knows? But the truth is, they were doing that. So they were trying to create true alchemy. And I really believe you can turn alchemy is also what you can do from your thoughts into reality. And I'm not talking metaphysical, I'm not talking woo-woo, I'm talking how your brain is wired and the filter system in it. And when we can understand that dictates our focus and our focus dictates our reality, then we can really start to zone in on what we truly are focusing on at the micro and macro level, like chunking down and chunking up. So where is the vision of why we're doing what we're doing? And what is it that we're doing each day to achieve that big vision? And if it doesn't align, then there's something wrong, right? And then we have to be very self-aware.
That's one way. Now, is that 4 years? Is that 2 years? Do people jump off? Like, you need to see some level of progress to keep you having blood in the water to get you going. But sometimes there is a breakthrough, because if the machine is in between you and the market, well, then you got to be discovered. But the reason now I think it's more pure is because SoundCloud and Spotify and YouTube and Shopify and Amazon, now you get the feedback loop so fast, and it isn't the arbitrary subjective call of, the reason it took some of the greatest stars of all time 11 years to break through is because other people had say. People didn't see Gaga's talent. They thought she was weird. Somebody thought she wasn't weird. She breaks out. But Lady Gaga today, she goes on fucking YouTube and fucking Spotify Direct, and the market speaks quicker. People are more famous quicker now if they have the talent, because nobody's in the middle. This is why I talk in general terms on content, of course, because I don't have the context. But if somebody sat here and I listened for 40 minutes, I would tell them if they're delusional or just impatient. And most people are impatient and delusional.
Fair.
Just to bring up a quick point there, I am listening to Will Smith's autobiography. If you've not listened to it, it's quite interesting. It's quite cool. He reads it, if you're into audiobooks. But he says he's very delusional. And that delusional has caused chaos in his life, but it's also caused him to be who he is because he didn't listen to the no's. and he just kept going. But guess what? He also had extreme talent. And there's a reason, right? So he was self-aware of his talent, which made him go, I'm going to put myself into my own reality bubble, which means I can push forwards when other people do or do not believe in me. It doesn't matter. So that delusional state is a good thing, but it also can be a damaging thing. And that's what Gary's saying.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. Do you know that everybody who picks on me for telling people that you don't need to make a lot, there are literally people now pushing back on my thesis that you can be happy without making a lot of money. This is literally now happening. I'm like watching it. I'm like, this is remarkable. Like, let me explain how I plan on addressing that. By not addressing it until the economy collapses and then making some comments on how historically correct I was.
So the market will course correct and take away all the bottom feeders.
And your control in this scenario is when a client says to you, no, bro, I need $10 ROAS, you're like, thank you very much, I'm not the guy for you.
Yeah, that's what I said.
When I spoke about before that Gary was brilliant at predicting future trends, this is one of them, right? And you can argue that, well, it's not even arguing. There's two sides of this coin. I don't think he's right, but I don't think he's wrong. He's talking about money, right? Well, you can do two things, and the world's in chaos right now, and I don't know if it's going to be good for a while. But the rich keep getting richer, man. They keep making money. They really, really do. And so I think there's two ways you can focus on, like I've got friends who are doing this, their focus is to build residual income or a way that they can be very self-sufficient. And that self-sufficiency means that they can create basically their own compound farm and live a very simple life away from all the chaos. That's an absolutely beautiful way. I think it's a beautiful way. The other side of it is you become wealthy. Because what wealthy does is allow you to have freedom. And this world now is designed for the wealthy to have freedom. And anyone else who doesn't have that freedom means that they generally aren't wealthy. And who makes the rules? Right, the wealthy, the government. Who stops the rules? Right, the wealthy, the government. There's always ways to do things to get around the rules that you've been set, or the freedom to create the freedom that you want if you have wealth. And wealth can mean, obviously we're talking about monetary wealth, we're not talking about spiritual happiness, family, we're not talking about that. There's many different types of wealth. But what we're talking about here is, monetary wealth. And it's very important. I really do believe that. And it doesn't mean billions of dollars or hundreds of millions or tens of millions, although that can help. But you best be ready for that type of money, because it can also be massively self-destructive. And then you're managing that type of money. And if you don't have the knowledge, or you're not around the people that have the knowledge, you can get very, very hurt. The other side of it is it's wealth, monetary wealth can be something in the market or your online business or something that can pay you no matter what is going on. That's why you need multiple income streams. And when you can have multiple income streams and spreading that out, then guess what? You're always kind of safe. If you can play in the digital world, you're always kind of safe. Does that make sense? So no matter what you're doing right now, I hope that you're thinking about that, because really in the future, there's only going to be two ways to be free. And the money side is probably the best and nicest way.
Right.
If you're standing on top of a mountain,
Yes.
you could have the attention of every single entrepreneur in the world. What would you tell them?
Real entrepreneurs or people that are claiming to be entrepreneurs during this era?
Real hardworking entrepreneurs.
How lucky did we get that we didn't end up being athletes?
Why is that?
Because they have to retire at 36.
What are some of the common characteristics between the most successful athletes and the most successful business people you've met?
Preparation, competitiveness, deep passion for the fucking game. You know? I mean, that's a real entrepreneur. She or he loves it so much, they couldn't be it. I mean, my actions have spoken long before entrepreneurship was cool. I was not capable of being a student because of my deep passion for entrepreneurship. It was baseball cards. It was baseball cards that didn't allow me to be a good student. I was incapable of sitting in class and not dreaming about selling Bo Jackson cards. It took me over. But for some reason, when you're an athlete and you're missing a bunch of school because you're a great athlete, or when you're Beyonce being homeschooled, right? That makes sense, but not for entrepreneurs, right? Doesn't seem like you're allowed to miss a ton of school. If you're an unbelievable actor, actress, singer, athlete, missing normal school is something that all of us in this room and listening right now understand. You're like, oh yeah, that's what happens. Like, you're the best quarterback in the world. Like, yeah, you gotta throw with the quarterback. You miss first class, you know? But not for entrepreneurs. But that's who I was. I should have missed a whole bunch and went to the fucking mall. And on Thursday and Friday, I used to do baseball card shows. Baseball card shows in Jersey in the 90s were Thursday to Sunday. So you'd pay for a table for Thursday to Sunday. But I had to start Friday afternoon after school. I had to overpay for my tables and try to make back my nut on Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday.
I'm curious to hear.
I should have fucking missed school on Thursday.
Let's say you were standing on top of the mountain talking to fake wannabe entrepreneurs.
I would say, hey gals and guys, you're about to deal with a very difficult scarlet letter. You live as an entrepreneur wannabe in 2019, which means your propaganda on your Instagram account is painting a life. Sooner than later, the economy will collapse. You will then have to go work at Chase Bank or at, somewhere else, and you're going to have to stop showing the facade of being a successful entrepreneur. And so the sooner you could start telling the truth of actually being an entrepreneur in the process of trying to win versus what entrepreneurship got cool. Super fun for me. Rappers, sneakers. It's been amazing. I'm super happy. I'm also unbelievably prepared for it to be demonized the way big banks were in 2008 when the shit hits the fan, and prepared for all the comments that you, Gary, you fucked me up. You told me entrepreneurship. Now I'm this. Really? Because you didn't listen.
But you make it look easy, right? I don't watch LeBron play and sit there and say, oh, I could be the basketball player, right? I watch business people and you're like...
But you're not watching. LeBron, you actually see it, and you don't actually see it because you just see the byproduct at night. LeBron's fucking in the weight room right now. LeBron's eating healthy as fuck. LeBron's watching film on Ben Simmons right now. You don't see that. I'm in fucking meetings 17 hours a day. And my attempt to vlog everything really doesn't work because there's so much sensitive information. But lately I've had a couple of these mega blogs, right? Vlogs where people are seeing my whole day. And these are fucking 4 to 7 hour videos on YouTube. And people are fucking going crazy. Why? I'm realizing? Like, who the fuck wants to watch 7 hours? I mean, I'm humbled. But what I realize is, now they're actually starting to see certain things. They're like, oh, that's how he treats people? Fuck. If he's doing that and he's nice to everybody and I think I'm somebody because I have 4,000 followers on Instagram, maybe I'm doing this wrong. And so, yeah, man, when it really gets to the Truman Show and people are really when somebody a little bit braver than me shows every single thing, like if I didn't have a company with clients and employees, I'd show everything. I'm just not. But I kind of sometimes dream of it because that's what's been great about these mega vlogs. So you would really see it, and then it wouldn't seem so easy. You go read the client comments on the 4 episodes I put up that are long, they're like, fuck, that looks exhausting.
I love that what you just said, because often, well, it's not often, it's what the culture is, and you hear it from 2019, so there's so much happened in the world in the past 2 years, right, or the last 18 months. And what he's showing there is, this is why I do my job. Because entrepreneurs come to me and we sort their brain out, we tune them up like a high performance vehicle. It's what's required, right? Whether you're doing it yourself, whether you need support, but at the end of the day, you don't know what I know. And I can say that 1,000,000%, you don't know what I know because you haven't studied what I've studied for 19, 20 years. You haven't been through all the experiences with the clients, with my own life for 19, 20 years. And so you cannot know what I know. It's impossible. So when entrepreneurs or high performers or people brand mindset, and think it's just about positive thinking and all of this and morning routines and all of that noise, it's so much deeper than that. If we start talking about submodalities and changing the actual coding, the structure of your unconscious mind, so we can unlock certain patterns and then build patterns so you can specifically have a tonality that's connected to an emotion, and that emotion is connected to a moment in time in the future. Do you know what I'm talking about? No, of course you don't, right? But you're not supposed to. That's my job. So what Gary's talking about there is behind the scenes, it becomes a very different game to what is shown on the outside. There's cause and effect. The cause is the amount of mind muscle or energy you put out, like I said before, right? That's the cause. The effect is the result. Now, that's just basics, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that we have to work as hard as Gary. Gary loves it, you know what I mean? And he also is on his way to become a billionaire. Are you interested in that? I'm not really interested in that, you know? 100M, that's a good number. That's a good number. A billionaire, that's a different number. That's a lot more than 100M, you know what I mean? But even 20M sitting there doing your thing, that's an amazing number. 1M, if million by the way is an M, if that's your thing, that's beautiful too. 20K a month, 10K a month, 5K a month, just depends on what you want, right? But at the end of the day, even to do that, you're gonna have to work your ass off. You are forever? No, hopefully not. That's not the goal unless you love it like Gary.
I hear fake manipulations of my story. Just one more time, because we're having an on-the-record day. I walked into my dad's business doing $3.8 million in sales, grew it to a $60 million business.
So you weren't handed it like some other people say?
Of course not. I left at 34 years. Guys, if I was handed a $60 million business, why would I start VaynerMedia in the conference room of Buddy Media because I didn't have enough money for rent? No, what I did, unlike all you fuckers, was I gave the 12 best years of my life to my parents who I love the most, built them a $60 million business, and walked at 34 with no fucking money. Now what? Now what, dick? You know what I think is a better advantage than fucking being born into something? Being born into nothing. I'm on the record. Remember I said it. Can't wait to watch it in 20 years. The internet the way it is today, I'd rather have 0 than 100 million. People that have 0 are like, this fucking guy's an idiot. That's because you don't talk to trust fund babies. I do. I talk to trust fund babies. They DM me. I meet them in real life because of my business career. They're fucking sad. Do you know what it's like to talk to a human being that looks at you at 22 years old and says, no matter what I do for the next 80 years, it will never be my own accomplishment. Everybody will always say I was handed it, and I'm done. Do you know what kind of level of depression, cocaine, and partying until you die that leads to? A lot.
Both sides are always going to come the other side.
100%. And by the way, nor do I expect anybody that grew up the way I did in a studio apartment in Queens to have sadness for Richard Thompson III. They will say what I always hear, which is, cool, I'll cry in my Ferrari. That's because you don't know what crying is, dick. Because smiling in your fucking Toyota is way better than crying in your Ferrari. But you can stay confused. And when you get there, why don't you call good old Gary and tell me how it actually feels?
Harsh, but true. It's true. It's you always see people with money, and then it's always the kids that are messed up, but they're okay. The people who earn the money, because it's never about the money. Well, it can be about the money, and again, you're going to have consequences about that because it's egotistical and they're filling a hole inside of themselves from external validation. But when we understand that, then we're not chasing that. We're not even chasing anything. We're just building what we want to do in life, connected to our intuition. Our intuition is going to guide you. It always does. It's guided Gary. It's going to guide you. So believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in your vision. Don't be delusional. Don't try and chase the shiny objects. Don't try and look for the get-rich-quick schemes. They're all scams, or they're all you're gonna get hurt. You might be one of the lucky ones, but hey, instead of shooting for the stars, you shoot for the moon. It's way closer. It's way closer and way easier to get to. So whatever's going on in your life, again, use the pain that you've been through as fuel. And I don't mean like, rah, rah, rah. No, Use it as wisdom. Because once you've had everything taken away from you, and I've been bankrupt, I've had nervous breakdowns, I've lived in cars, couches, all the rest of it. When you have done that and had everything taken away from you, it doesn't matter anymore. Because what you thought was really important isn't. What's important is you being happy, fulfilled, enjoying your life, your family, your friends, building the business that you want to build, what you enjoy, solving a problem, helping people, philanthropy. That is what's important. So if that's where you're at right now, then beautiful. And speaking of beautiful, here we are at the end of episode 333, crew. Imagine that when it gets to 3,333. Maybe I'll do that many episodes. Who the heck knows, right? We're going to keep these going. And speaking of keep them going, make sure that you are right now heading over to theradicalformula.com. Theradicalformula.com. Sign up for the VIP list. We're launching with Ryan Alford at the end of the month. It's pumped. If you're a trader, there's another reason why I'm building this, for freedom for people, right? Because everyone's dipping the toes in the trading world, but they don't have the mental skills to be able to handle that amount of pressure and make decisions. So the geniustrader.club is on its way. What else? Hey, just go to andymurphy.online or follow me anywhere. Andy Murphy Mindset. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Find me right now. Okay, crew, that's the end of the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got lots from it. Write me a review. Write me a review. And well, share this episode and maybe you want to listen to it again for that extra motivation. Okay, until the next time. Much love. You have an amazing week, and oh yeah, one more thing. Why don't you smile for me?
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of the Mindset by Design podcast with your host and NLP expert, Andy Murphy. We'll catch you next time.